Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spiderversity. This is a show where me, DJ, and Sal, hey Sal,
hey,
we talk about Spider-Man stuff, and this is one of our special episodes where, thanks to Sony's dreams of having their own shared universe, we're doing a Spider-Man show where we don't talk about Spider-Man. He does get a name drop, which is more than happens in Venom.
that's true.
And it is in the post credits. I do think there will be a chunk of this episode of us trying to figure out what the original plans were for Morbius, because they weren't this. But
Right.
I think Avi Arad heard all the cries from the 90s, more Morbius, all the dozen of people that were like, yay, Morbius.
Yeah. I honestly, this is just abject greed. It's just a desperate need. They're like, the reality is we can't make a Venom movie every year.
Yes.
Like, that's the real reason there's a Morbius movie, is because like it's too expensive and complicated to keep making Venom movies. If we could, we would, but since we can't, and we do want a Sinister Six at some point, how about Morbius?
I think want. You're saying want. I think need. We need.
Right, but like we know they don't need one.
Yes,
because
I
they
know.
could just make stereos and CD players. Like, they don't need to make movies at all.
Yeah.
Much less a Spider-Man interconnected universe sans Spider-Man.
I was having a moment. I've been replaying God of War in anticipation of God of War Ragnarok. And it was one of those moments like, yeah, why don't you all stick to this? Because this is great.
Right.
Why are you giving me bad Men in Black and Ghostbusters and Spider-Man movies when you could just make more God of War games?
Seriously, like, stick to what you know and you're good at. Hell, keep making Spider-Man games.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how to make a Spider-Man game?
So we're talking about. You brought up something, and before we leave it, I do want to touch on it. You said they can't make a Venom movie every year, and I want to say,
they could,
and maybe I'm pulling this out of my ass, but I want to say there was talks of when we rebooted Spider-Man with Tom Holland that they said we're looking at the Harry Potter movies for inspiration.
Yeah.
In school growing up, whatever. I don't think those are comparative at all. Not, you could, in inspiration, comparing the two movies is like, well, you didn't. If that was the goal, you didn't do it. But
right.
yeah, but I do wonder, like, could you not do a Spider-Man movie? Not necessarily every year, because they didn't do. Some years had back-to-back Harry Potter movies. I think like Harry Potter's 1 and 2 were back-to-back, and of course the finales were. But like, it was pretty much every year or every other year you're getting a Harry Potter. Could you not do that with Spider-Man?
You absolutely could. No, the thing is, like, you absolutely could, especially with like the Holland trilogy. Like Far From Home, No Way Home. Maybe No Way Home a little bit more spectacular, but you save that, right?
Yeah.
But Spider-Man is so episodic and it's so serialized that you could get away with making 8 or 9 Spider-Man movies for like a decade.
Yeah.
And each one is just kind of like, gee whiz, Spider-Man is in his third year of college, and is he going to work things out with Deb Whitman, or is he going to go after Felicia Hardy when he's Spider-Man? Like, there are ways to keep the budget down. Like, you could make a $90 million Spider-Man movie and still have it be just as profitable and exciting as a $250 million Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, because it's not like, obviously it's different now, but at the time when you're signing Tom Holland, you can make that contract work. I like the idea of like, okay, we start in high school. Maybe it's like a fucking MCU timeline thing, but it's like, because I know I'm not getting my live action Spider-Man show. The closest might be that new
cartoon.
Yeah, the freshman year. Although I kind of wish, I'm worried because I kind of wish they picked a lane. Is it just do a Spider-Man animated series, or are we trying to fit MCU stuff in? Pick one.
No,
we
like
won't.
Both.
But it's like, because there's so many villains we haven't touched on. There's so many. If you did it every year, every other year, like you said, it's like, okay, freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and work your way up the ladder. And because it's not like Spider-Man is one of those characters, it's not like your want for stories to tell, there's not like things you can't do.
That's the thing, you can mine so much, and like these people fancy themselves creatives, they'd be damned rather than just like adapt a JMD Mateus script.
Yeah.
But they could just take the skeleton of an idea and then fill it in with all their Hollywood nonsense and still manage to make a compelling picture that like is a spiritual successor to the comic book adaptation. Like the comics, you got 70 years of history, 60 years actually. And there's no shortage of stories that like all blend in together that could be, I mean, is Far From Home really like, when you were looking at like the Raimi trilogy, they're like, it has to be the biggest, most spectacular thing. Like Spider-Man 1, it's the Goblin, it's the Gwen Stacy story, it's Mary Jane, it's everything all at once, boom. Origin. And then 2, they're like, Doc Ock, gonna blow up the whole damn city. Mary Jane and Spider-Man, will they, won't they? We're gonna nail that now.
Yeah.
Boom. Third one, black costume, Sandman, all that crap, like everything. Far From Home, he goes to Europe. I hope he kisses her at the end.
Yeah.
There's nothing really there except like he fights. I mean, it's great and spectacular, but like you could have an equally spectacular sequence of Spider-Man like fighting Vulture, fighting Mysterio, fighting Black Cat, Silvermane, Hammerhead. You know, you could mine any of those characters and be like, look, this isn't our Secret Wars. Like this isn't the big tentpole finale picture that's like 2 parts.
Yeah.
Like this isn't our Deathly Hallows of Spider-Man. Which it could be.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the thing. It's like, so, and then you could do one where it's like, then it's not like one for the MCU, one for us. One where he hangs out with Iron Man, one where he's just Spider-Man.
Yeah, just Spider-Man.
He's just Spider-Man.
Like, hey, this is the one, like, you know, he's hanging out with Iron Man in one issue, in one movie. He gets the black costume in the next movie. You know, and that's all.
And then you could siege your whatever. They're not paying us to do this, but then you could siege your, you want to siege your Morbius is in there. You want to siege your whatever's in there.
Sure.
Did you get a screener for Werewolf by Night?
I did. I haven't watched it. I did. I really want to see it. I can't wait.
I can't say anything but so good.
Yes, so good. Okay,
so
yes.
Good. But anyway, and of course, and I had to watch that. I watched a little bit of Morbius for this show, and then I watched that, and then I had to go back to Morbius, and it's like, God damn it, God damn it.
Yeah, you got to just rip the Band-Aid off with Morbius.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of, we're talking about Jared Leto starring Morbius. Synopsis: biochemist Michael Morbius tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease, but he inadvertently infects himself with a form of vampirism instead. Yeah. And I like on Netflix, I've got to look up what these guys worked on. I like how Netflix really tried to bury the lead pretty hard, where they're like, the director of Life. I'm like, I don't know if that's the selling point you think it is.
Exciting.
And from the writers of, let me pull up, I don't even remember, from the writers of Morbius. No, from the writers of, they're working on Madam Web 2. God fucking damn it. What did they? Oh, from Lost in Space. From the writers of Lost in Space come this
the show?
Yeah, and they're like, okay, guys. I don't. Did Lost in Space do well for y'all? Anyway. Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 15% Rotten Tomatoes score and an audience score of 71%. Critics cursed with uninspired effects. I don't know if I actually agree with that one, but whatever. Uninspired effects.
Not bad.
Yeah. Okay, so listen, this isn't a good movie. I actually don't think it looks bad. I actually think it looks better than a lot of MCU movies.
Yeah, no. Well, they know where to like focus on it, when not to.
Yeah,
you know, like it's just a guy.
Yeah,
right. And then the other guy does the exact same thing.
It's not like okay, these two characters are having a conversation in the field, so we're going to green screen all this. Wait, time out. We have fields. What are you doing?
Yeah, we have fields in Georgia where you're shooting, or Australia, or where the hell you need to go. Like, you don't need to like. Well, they're having a conversation on the surface of the moon.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's a field, but also in case we change our mind later, it could be a city. So, and it's like, well, how do you light for that? You don't. What? The answer is you don't.
Why do you need to change your mind about that?
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, but I'm sorry, I got distracted. Crisp uninspired effects, rote performances, and a borderline nonsensical story. This dreary mess is a vain attempt to make Morbius happen.
Yeah. That I agree with 100%. Yeah. It is a vain attempt.
Yes.
No pun intended.
Yeah, actually, I might have points on the other things, but it is a vain attempt to make Morbius happen. And it also, we just went over it. They agreed. But it's like, why Morbius? Of all, like on paper, I kind of understand in that Morbius has had, as opposed to other characters they're trying to make standalone movies with, Morbius has had a comic.
He's had a series.
Yeah,
he has appeared in many stories. He's been the protagonist in most of them.
Yeah, it's so okay. Yeah, and vampires sell, Twilight, whatever. I get it.
Focus groups, man. Like that's it. That's how it sells. Like,
but I've never encountered, and I'm not saying there couldn't be one, but I've never encountered a Morbius story. I was like, oh, Morbius.
No, there's not a single Morbius story that I thought was worth my time.
Yes. The audience Morbius isn't telling the most original story, but cool visuals and fast action keep things entertaining.
No, they don't. that I also don't agree with, because they're not cool. They are competent. The visuals are achieved.
Mm-hmm. I do
like.
Say what you're gonna say. Say what you're gonna say.
Oh, just the artifacting around him, like the smoke effect.
Yeah.
That's nonsensical, because why? And the why is to hide wires and like green screen, and because it's visually interesting, or at least they believe it is.
It is the most visually interesting aspect of the movie. I don't hate it.
No, I don't get it, but I also don't loathe it. I'm not like angry that it's happening. It's just more like, this is a choice made by someone who doesn't even know why they're doing it.
So I feel like I agree with you on that, because there is a lot of speed ramping in this movie. That reminded me a lot of Zack Snyder, and I think that is also the rule of the day for most Zack Snyder movies. Like, that looks cool. Why are you doing it? Because it looks cool. It's like, okay.
And in this movie, like, because it's not a Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah.
And say what you will about Zack Snyder, at least he has like a visual style, and he has a direction.
Yes.
This has no. At least it's not like. It's not. I remember I saw a movie in theaters that I walked down on. It was the last one I did. It was called Domino.
Okay.
And
fucking
that was
with Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley,
co-written by the guy that did Southland Tales and Donnie Darko.
yeah, friggin' the Bounty Hunter movie.
Yeah.
It's like, it was so frenetic and ugly, and like their color palette, like there was a choice they were trying to make here, and it's like, it's an ugly color palette, and it was like such an off-putting edit decision.
Yeah,
that it was like, I can't look at this anymore. Morbius is not the most terrible looking shot composition. Like, it's not like it's bland. It's not like it's creative for the sake of being creative. It's just a movie.
Yeah.
And the visuals are the exact same thing.
Yeah. And you're talking about Dominic. That was a Tony. You're talking about. I was like, who directed Tony Scott? And then you were describing them like, that sounds like a Tony Scott movie, and it is a Tony Scott movie. Nice. R.I.P. But like, Man on Fire is hard to watch. It's just like some of Tony Scott's later stuff is just kind of like hard to get through, especially if you edited ever.
Yeah.
So listen, Morbius. This is what we get. We got Jared Leto, Matt Smith, the distractingly beautiful Adria Arjona, wasted, but very nice to look at.
Completely wasted. I feel bad for her.
Most wasted is Jared. Why is Jared Harris in this movie? Why is he here?
Right? I don't know. Well, why is Tyrese Gibson in this movie?
That one at least get paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have like Jared Harris. Last time I saw him, I think was Chernobyl.
Right.
Doing
that's an
incredible work.
No, he's great. That guy was my first pick for the MCU Doc Ock.
Cool. I was thinking, so I was replaying, sorry guys, we will get to Morbius. I was playing,
It'll only take 10 minutes.
I was playing Spider-Man PS4, and of course Doc Ock plays a big part in that. Made me think, it was in that moment I was like, oh, I know who my MCU Doc Ock would be. It would be Bryan Cranston.
Oh man, he'd be great.
I think he'd be really, and I think it's because going back to Breaking Bad. I know a lot of people Lex Luthor because he was bald in that show. I think more with Breaking Bad, it's like, because Doc Ock's arc in Spider-Man PS4 is the same, or is that chip on your shoulder feeling, and it's like, I know Bryan Cranston could make a meal out of this.
Oh, absolutely. Oh no, yeah. Like, he can do the mental gymnastics as a character to justify his monstrous behavior.
And he's also theatrical enough, because there is you need a certain theatricality. That's what we want in our supervillains. Yeah. Which actually, Matt Smith does a real good job. Okay, we'll get to this, but Matt Smith is the best part of this movie. Matt Smith is hands down the best part of this movie.
I have to admit, I only know Matt Smith from Doctor Who, which I've never seen.
Yeah,
and
he's great.
I've never seen Matt Smith in a movie ever in my life.
Wow.
Like, so this is my first Matt Smith movie.
That's unfortunate. I think he's really good in it, but it is what it is, you know.
Well, you could tell like he's the only one who got the notes.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take the paycheck and dick around for however long it takes to shoot this movie. This movie's not going to get stuck in like development hell. Like it's going to take like what 4 months and I'll be done.
Yes.
Like, oh yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, sure.
Good.
And I love it. Like the thing about Matt Smith / Jared Leto and everybody else is like, you know, I don't know. Every protagonist since the MCU started is in their like late 30s to like early 50s. Like gone are the days when like your hero was actually 20 something.
Yeah.
Even your villains are like in their 30s or 40s.
Yep.
And I'm like, what is this? Like no one can think of an actor under the age of 45.
Yeah.
But he's good. He's good in this dumb movie.
Yeah,
I feel bad. So I'm like, I've never seen you in anything.
Yeah, he's doing great work in House of the Dragon. He was really excellent as the Doctor. Yeah. So I mean, and he was also in that. He was also in that awful Terminator.
Soho?
I think it was Genesis. Oh, he was in Last Night in Soho, which for an Edgar Wright movie was disappointing. It's not like a bad movie. Yeah. It for an Edgar Wright movie, it's disappointing. It's like it's Edgar Wright, so like even his,
so it's good.
It's good. It's better than this. And he's good in it. Matt Smith's good. He's good here. But anyway, so credit where it is due. Pun intended. The opening credit sequence I actually like. It's visually simple. It's evocative. It is probably better than the movie at bookends.
Yes.
I'd also like to point out we start off in I want to say Costa Rica. I have it in my notes later. We'll get to it.
I think you're right.
We praised, heavy air quotes, the fact that they're not like shooting warehouse scenes on green screen. They just went to a warehouse because it's a fucking warehouse. Yes. I will say they do blow unnecessary CG money in this Costa Rica scene, because there's this shot of like where you start with like rain coming down through the jungle into this crevice down to the cavern, and then you pan out like you didn't need to do this.
the whole, you don't see anything filmed for 3 minutes.
Yes,
it's the helicopter pilot. Like once we get to the helicopter pilot, we actually have film in camera. The rest is all CG. The jungle CG, the pan shots, the animals, everything is CG until we get to the guy in the cockpit. I'm suspicious if the cockpit is even real too.
Yep.
Like but I remember being like, geez, you guys, like, because it's not, and it's not like John Carter, which is not a great movie, but it is a very expensive looking movie.
Yes.
And it's like, you got to create all this stuff, and it looks really good. And this is Costa Rica. I know what it looks like, and it don't look like this. It looks weird and fake, and for no reason. It's not like it's a Transformers movie and like the mountain's gonna become a giant fucking robot.
Yes.
Like it's just a jungle.
Yeah,
you could go to Mexico and just shoot the jungle.
Yeah, you could get a B unit out there. We probably still have some sets somewhere of this stuff.
That's
anyway.
It's weird.
It's a weird choice, especially to start. But anyway, so the helicopter pilot gets out and it's like, we shouldn't be here after it gets dark. And it's like, well, too late, Mike. It's already, sun's going down.
Why did you take them then, idiot? You know how much fuel you had.
We get a classic trailer line. The pilot asks, you need a doctor? And Morbius with his crutches. God, fucking. Okay, we'll get into it. I don't want to.
We'll make fun of him in a minute.
Yeah, but he's like, I am a doctor, which is a simple bit of exposition, and then we get my first. I guess the CG there, the unnecessary CG there, is my first. We get to my next. I know when I was first watching, I was like, is when he looks at this desiccated like mountain goat carcass, and he's like. Amazing, isn't it? Vampire bats weigh almost nothing, but they can take down a creature 10 times their size. I'm like, I don't think that's how vampire bats work.
It isn't, and they can't.
If I remember correctly, because I don't know about you, Sal, but being a little nerdy boy growing up, I was into dinosaurs and weird
sharks, bats,
cryptids, whatever. And I remember being very disappointed when I found vampire bats just do little lickies on cows, and that's basically it.
That's it. You're thinking of the same Attenborough documentary where they like cut their heels and they just lick the blood as it trickles out of their heels. I'm like. That's it. They vampire bats. They will crawl along the ground.
Yep.
Cut them a little bit, drink their blood while they're not looking or paying attention, and then flutter away. They don't like swarm a goat like a critter ball.
Yeah, it's not like they're the piranhas of the sky.
No. Can you? We would do something about these bats if that were the case. If there was like a non-0% chance that I could enter the jungle and, a la Batman Begins, a swarm of bats would encircle me like the Tasmanian devil, and I would be bones.
Yeah.
We would have to do something about them.
That would be a thing we would talk about, and also it would be in everything. It would be in everything. We would be more obsessed with bats than we already are. So anyway,
Morbius would not have been the first movie to talk about.
Nope, sure wouldn't have. So, helicopter dudes want to get out. Morbius does not give a. So helicopter guy is clear. I don't want. We've just established that in this universe, bats can eat you alive. I don't want to be here after dark. I feel a threat to my safety. And Morbius is like, cool. Cuts his hand while everybody's still there. Also, so what's the Sal? Help me out. What is the plan here? For one thing. That's just a thing of strings. Is that a cage? It doesn't look like one.
It looked like a CG cage. Like, it looked like it was one of those things where it's like, we need a cage or something. I don't know. Like, I thought it was like a kind of grate that protected him at first, because it just, it's one of those impossible pieces of like MCU technology that like it opens up and it goes up here and then lasers come out. Yeah. And I'm like, what am I looking at? And there's a lot of this in this movie where you go like, what, like, will this be paid off? And the answer is no, and there's no explanation. Yeah,
I don't know.
There are characters that are really important to this movie that happens to. But I was like, no, it was weird. It was very weird, and I didn't understand it. And I was like, because I forgot that like he captures the bats and uses them later for no reason, and I don't know. The cage is too small for the amount of bats.
It's not a cage. It's just like it's like a grid. It's at best a net. If it is anything, which even saying it's a net feels generous, I don't know. It's just strings. It's just like floss in between two machines.
I thought they were lasers. I thought it was like a digital web of some kind.
Couldn't tell you. I don't know. But also, so the timing of it, and also, okay, so the guys want to leave, and he's like, leave, but give me your knife. What is Morbius going to take the cage down
himself?
The mountain?
Yeah, he's not. There's no way to do it. No.
So. Fuck. And there was this brief moment. So he cuts his hand, the bat's flying. I was like, oh, you know what? God bless this movie. At least there's not like, we're not burdening ourselves. We're right off to the races. He's getting his powers. We're going to move on. And then cut to 25 years earlier. I'm like, God damn it. Fucking damn it. Fuck.
Yeah. And the only reason is to establish a character who has never been introduced in the comics, so that we can have an anti-Morbius.
Wait, I think Milo or Lucian is in the comics. I can't remember if it's Milo or Lucian. That's true. Yeah. That's a good point.
Like it's just a made up thing. Like they used a name. He doesn't do anything. Like there's no like anti-Morbius character that shows up in these comics.
Okay, well listen, what else were you gonna do, Sal? You have to give him an anti. This is the post MCU era. His villain has to be an anti him.
No, evil Ant-Man, evil Hulk, evil Iron Man, evil Black Panther. They all have to be the same thing with the same powers.
Yeah, and we don't have, and it's not like Morbius has a deep bench of supporting characters we can pull from.
No, he doesn't. It's Spider-Man.
We'll get to that in a minute. But I do feel like there's a missed opportunity here. There's a lot of them. But with this and with Venom, what if your hero was the antagonist? Like what if it is, the problem is I need to deal, and the other problem is their dramatic stakes are essentially the same. I suddenly need to eat people because of my powers. Honestly, it's the same bit.
Most of Morbius's stories are, I mean, like we did an entire like saga of a season of Spider-Man in which Spider-Man is the antagonist of Morbius's story. Yes. Like Morbius is like, I'm going to give up being Morbius, and then Spider-Man shows up and kicks him and ruins the Neogenic Recombinator. There's nothing he can do. Like, and then turns him into a horrible monster bat. Yep. Like Spider-Man could be the antagonist.
Well, you know what? Let's just do it. I was going to bring this up later, but let's just talk about it. Okay. Is there a reality? It's not ours, but is there a reality where if somehow Sony was like, okay, we want our own universe, and so we're deciding that Tom Holland Spider-Man is the MCU Spider-Man, our Spider-Man is the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and that Spider-Man shows up in the middle of this movie as opposed to Tyrese Gibson.
Yes,
it's Spider-Man, and it's not because if he shows up, if he is quote unquote the antagonist, it's a Spider-Man movie. So maybe it's just the middle. He shows up for like a middle stretch,
Yeah.
And then we get back to Lucian or whatever the fuck. Is that is there a reality where a studio like Sony, somewhere out there in the multiverse, would be like, yeah, let's do that?
I mean, they should have done that.
Yeah.
I feel like, that it's such a no-brainer. Because I was just thinking, no, it'd be fun if it was like an anti Spider-Man movie where we see Spider-Man the amount of times we saw like Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. We go home with Morbius, and the only time we see Spider-Man is during the fight, or when he's like trying to desperately track down Morbius because he thinks there's just an evil monster lurking in the shadows. That'd be kind of almost brilliant
and almost
to make
subversive
like an anti-Spider-Man movie.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like that would actually like give you points as a movie. Like the people who defend movies like this would be able to say like, bravo, at least they're trying something different, unlike the MCU.
Yeah.
You know, like you'd give them something to say, because like that'd be interesting. Like especially Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, who we've established is like more angry and more less likely to chat.
Yeah. It's just I don't know. And this is post fucking No Way Home. We'll get into how that changed things. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we get this goddamn fucking flashback. It's Greece 25 years earlier. Why Greece? Great question. I don't know, actually. Young Morbius is playing chess with himself. Cool. I guess that's supposed to mean he's smart. I mean, you know the moves. I don't know. I don't know how you're
it's that's the thing is like, well, I don't know when we want to talk about the fact that like this movie's a skeleton. This is a like script writing 101, like fill in the blanks Mad Lib movie.
Yeah.
Where like everything you need to have happens at like you know, like how, what was it? Michael Bay's like, there better be an explosion every 5 pages or something like that. It's like every beat is telegraphed, every character turn, every moment you could predict immediately. And that's why the movie doesn't suck, because it is just a script template that we get. And they filled it in. They didn't break the mold. So it like will work because your brain sees faces on Mars. It makes patterns in snow. Like you will create a story out of this if it's put in sequence, and it'll make sense.
Yeah.
The thing is, this movie doesn't need to be made. No one asked for it, and there's no justification for it. So it's like, that's why people get mad, I think, when we talk about Morbius, because they're like, well, what are you so upset about? Like, it was a movie that I'd have to think about, and everything that happened exactly the way I predicted that it would happen. Yeah. And it didn't like challenge me in any way. And it's like, that's not the point of movies anymore. Like movies aren't supposed to just be garbage that exists for no reason. It's like empty calories. It's just like eating it's just, oh, I'm hungry, I'll drink a Guinness. Like that's what this is. It's not.
Yeah, and to that point, I think the most cynical, bleakest aspect of this, it's like, yeah, man, if you had Spider-Man or Blade in this movie and it was connected to the MCU, it would do better. It's because it's not like it's not like most MCU movies are better written. Like Thor: Love and Thunder exists. Like I don't know.
The Thor trilogy, 3 out of 4 Thor movies are
exist
templates.
Yeah, exactly. They exist. That's the best.
Ant-Man's gonna have a 3rd movie. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. And it's like, if you connect it, because I couldn't help but think that way. I couldn't if Blade, because I thought about, after we talked about it, I for those that have not been keeping up with our episodes, Blade shows up in Spider-Man the Animated Series, so we talked about Blade the movies a little bit because they pulled heavily from the animated series, and I went and saw that clip with it's meant to be Morbius. I wouldn't have known that if somebody had not. It could just be other vampire. But like the idea, when I was reading about the original idea for Blade 2, where Blade teams up with Morbius to take down worse vampires, it's like, give me that. I would
love to see that.
That is the capacity I want to see Morbius work in. When you're dealing with a vampire threat, Morbius or Blade is and so it's like, if Blade was in this movie, suddenly I'm more into this movie.
I am more invested than ever before. Like, I would actually I would have almost forgive Morbius if he showed up in the Blade movie for the MCU later.
Okay. Let's go back in time.
Yeah.
Rewind. Alternate universe, Blade 2. Who is your Morbius against Wesley Snipes?
Oh, man.
I did think Jared Leto has been around. Jared Leto has been around long enough. It could have been Jared Leto.
Yeah. I mean, you want to get somebody who's like, I feel like if you're going back to like 1998 or 1990, like or 2002,
Yeah.
they might have wasted Mads Mikkelsen on Morbius.
Fuck, that would have been so fucking cool. That'd be so fucking cool. I'm trying to think. I was thinking it'd probably be like Johnny Depp or something. But then I thought about the Blade movies. It's like, no, the only person you're spending money on in the Blade movies is Wesley Snipes. Everybody else is like B-list. No offense.
Yeah, no, it's Grounded for Life. It's that guy who you get if you can't afford Mads Mikkelsen. You know, the German guy who's from those Mercury Cougar commercials.
Yeah,
he was in Blade.
Yeah.
You know, like, but you get because especially if you want it to be like the cartoon, you know, because Avi Arاد's integrally involved in these movies.
2002, he would have been European, Eastern European. You're 100% right. Yeah.
So it's like you want to have somebody who can either do an accent or is from somewhere else, Spain.
What if you got a young? When did Lord of the Rings come out? Early 2000s, right?
Yeah, like 2001.
What if you got a young, just about ready to blow up in Lord of the Rings, Viggo Mortensen?
I mean, he would have elevated that role beyond comprehension. Like he does that in The Prophecy, where it's like Viggo Mortensen is in The Prophecy, and at the third act mark steals the show from Christopher Walken and everybody else.
Yeah,
like just immediately because Viggo Mortensen's like, I'm the devil. Done.
Done. Yes, thank you.
Owns it. Like, okay, he would be an amazing Morbius.
All right, I'm going to give you my drink. Okay, this just came to me. Okay. And it kind of breaks the rules we just established, but it would. This is DJ's dream reality. You keep Guillermo del Toro.
Oh,
Blade 2. Mm-hmm. Wesley Snipes Blade teaming up with Keanu Reeves Morbius.
Oh my God! I mean, that's like, come on. And he would not have swung for the fences, but it would have been so infinitely watchable.
The only crime is if they have to fight. They have to have a fight scene against each other.
Yeah,
they have to.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason you're doing this.
And knowing that Keanu likes to fight, like he likes to learn that shit, like he would have actually had a really fun fight that would not have been like that fight at the end of Blade, where it's just swords like for no reason, and then who's that? Was that? And
Blade 2?
No, I'm thinking of the first Blade. What's
it's Stephen Dorff, right? In
Stephen
Blade.
Dorff, where it's like Stephen Dorff's like, I'm not doing train. I'm not
gonna. Well, that's almost the thing. If you got Keanu Reeves because he likes to fight and Wesley Snipes is Wesley Snipes, you might like inadvertently
get a real fight.
Exactly, you fall ass backwards into like a scene from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where it's like, wait, are they actually fighting each other?
Right, like, is this good?
Yeah.
Wait,
are they gonna? Are our two stars gonna hurt each other right now? Anyway.
Yeah.
That's not the movie we got. This is the movie we got. So we're still in the flashback. Sorry, everybody.
Oh my God. The flashback happens. He makes friends with the guy. The thing that irks me the most is when the guy reveals himself. What's his name? It's like Damien or Lucien.
It's Lucian. Like it's Lucian, and he just calls him Milo in a scene that I think is meant to be endearing, but goes from
not.
Yeah, it goes from like, well, that's kind of a dick move to like weirdly tragic that he just answers to that name as an adult.
The weird thing was when he's beaten by local, not at all Greek children in Greece.
Yeah.
And no one's Greek in this movie. And there's like, why did you set it in Greece?
Why?
Like,
no
just
reason.
set it in London, you idiots. But they're beaten on Lucian.
Yes.
But Moriarty runs over and he's like, and he calls him Milo. And I'm like, don't yell Milo like that's his real name. Like, I remember, I can't tell the story. I was gonna say like, but because it's all real names. Yeah. I knew there were two Wills in my like grade school.
Yeah.
And one I called Will, and the other one I called by his last name because I hated him so much.
Nice.
And it took off like wildfire. Where he was like so unpopular that everybody called him that.
Nice.
And then I remember one time a teacher was so frustrated with him, she called him by the nickname we all gave him. And I'm like, oh.
We did it. And then he killed himself. It was actually really sad. It's a really sad story.
He did not.
I know. I was just thinking back to that episode of Atlanta.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Anyway, so we learned a couple things about whatever mystery disease Morbius and Milo have. They have to get a blood transfusion. He calls it an oil change. They have to get a blood transfusion 3 times a day.
That's impossible. Like that is life-changingly. Like you wouldn't be able to go to the Nobel peace
Yeah,
prize.
exactly. How would you? Is there a blood person on the plane to help you? I feel like that's one of those, and maybe I'm thinking about this through the lens of the American healthcare system, but it's like, no, we would just let you die. We would let you die.
You'd better be really, really rich.
The impression I get is that Milo is. We don't really get into any history of Morbius's family or whatever.
No,
but the impression I'm given is that Milo is rich, which is why he can afford Moriarty to change his blood every three times.
We find that out but I find that out later when it turns out he's been funding Morbius the whole time.
When he's an adult, which raises the question what, did you become rich or were you rich?
I assume it's like his parents. It was like they wanted. It's so cute when you see how Hollywood wants to do things that are just antiquated at this point. They're like, well, his parents are rich and the kid's sickly, so they send him away. And I'm like, it's not One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's not 1962 anymore.
Yeah.
You can't just ship your kid to Geneva and hope for the best.
Yeah.
He's not going to be put into a sanitarium. And that's what they want to have happen here, where it's I think that it's like Oswald Cobblepot in Batman Returns, where it's he has rich parents and they don't want him. And unlike putting him in the river, they just put him in a hospital and then eventually they die and he inherits their money. I filled in all the blanks because the movie is so by the numbers skeletal. It tricks you into filling the blanks. It is actually very much like a comic book where your mind fills in the action between panels. Your brain fills in story between the scenes.
Yes.
That makes it make sense, because otherwise it doesn't. When they say nonsensical, you're right. If you take it deliberately literally, it is nonsensical.
It does not. Yeah. If you engage with this movie at all, it becomes a bit of a challenge. We also get within seconds of Milo showing up at this place, he keels over and is dying, and Morbius has to fix his machine with a ballpoint pen, and they hang Jared Harris is like, what, you did it with a ballpoint pen? But it's no, but honest question, why though? You also talk about things movies do, and this is a thing that I have grown exhausted with, where I've grown exhausted with it because real life people believe this about themselves. It's I'm good at this one thing, which means I'm smart at all things. It's no, just because you have your dad's apartheid emerald money and you were able to buy PayPal doesn't mean you understand things. That's not how.
Right, exactly.
That's not how the world works, but that's how movies work. So not only is Morbius a biochemist genius, he can fix machines too.
He's
I
MacGyver.
guess.
Yeah.
He is MacGyver. So Morbius. Wait, he leaves. Oh, why does he leave? He's sent to a special boys school
they
because
send
he's
him
smart.
to America. Yeah,
sure.
He's going to smart school.
Do they have the blood transfusion? Whatever, doesn't matter.
They better.
Milo reads a letter from Morbius in the dustiest room imaginable. I just had to point it out. There's so much dust in this room. I don't know why. It's these kids are super sickly. You need to fucking dust. And this is where he gets beat up. None of that matters. We're gonna flash forward to the present. Morbius is getting a Nobel Prize, right? That's what we learned.
Yeah. Yeah, he's getting I don't think they even say it until they're not there anymore. But he's getting a Nobel Prize. He goes, he dresses up, he wears the frilly outfit.
Yep,
that makes him look like a Dracula, and and then he says no.
Yeah, well, we've learned that he says no off camera.
we get a incredibly dramatic sequence.
Yeah,
that is not filmed.
Yes, cool, good job, movie. And we learned that he's getting this movie is hitting us with a lot of information very quickly. To its credit, that makes this movie blissfully short. So thank you for that. He invented fake blood.
Yeah, he invented fake blood.
He invented fake blood, which is blue for some reason, which seems not right.
No, but you know what? You know where that comes from? I guarantee I know what this comes from. This comes from an urban legend.
Okay.
That says that in your veins, your blood is blue until it oxidizes with air and then becomes red. That is a urban legend that I remember vividly kids thought was real. And I guarantee you that it's paying homage to that, but also they really, really just want to have them refer to the red and the blue.
100%. 100%.
They want them to say I'm going red. They want to say I got to go back to blue. They want to use that kind of expression and like try to for world building.
Yes. Yeah. I also couldn't help but wonder, like, wait, is this supposed to be like the android blood from like fucking Ridley Scott movies, Alien and Blade Runner and shit? Anyway,
that'd be awesome. But it's not. It's just blue.
It's
Fake
just
blood
blue.
looks blue.
Cool.
Real blood looks red.
So we learn all this stuff because he's talking to this little girl who will go into a coma and then vanish from the movie
and disappear. She's the moral like centerpiece of the movie.
Mm-hmm. She vanishes.
She disappears.
She vanishes. We are introduced to Dr. Martine Bancroft, who once again is played by the lovely Adria Arjona, who deserves better. She's great in Andor. She's in the first few episodes of Andor. She's really good there.
I heard that. I haven't seen Andor yet.
Andor is the
good
great stuff. Oh man,
okay.
I was ready to give up after Obi-Wan, and Andor redeemed all of that and more. So anyway, we go into Morbius's lab, which, like, okay, it looks cool, and I do like it's. I just watched Roadhouse for the first time. Patrick Swayze Roadhouse, and it's like, yeah, I miss this mode where it's like, yeah, you got to give your action movie guy a cool hangout spot.
Yes,
and listen, Morbius does that. The lab, it's got like old timey bookshelves, but like cool lab stuff. It's fine. I mean, for this movie, it's fine. It's not anything special, but for the movie looks cool. And we learn he's trying to fix his disease by mixing bat DNA with human DNA, which Bancroft says a lot of things.
Yes.
That I assume are supposed to mean something, but do not.
No, they need to fill the time. Like, this movie is short and trim, and there's no effing B plot here.
Yep.
And it's like, so they just have her say a bunch of stuff, and I mean, she could just take it for granted because she takes everything else for granted in this movie. Like, every time that he's like, we got to get on a boat and do a thing illegally. She's like, I'm in. I'm a vampire now. I'm in.
Yeah.
You're gonna die. I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, she's all in on everything. And then in this movie, she's like, in the beginning, she's like, oh, you can't keep these bats here. And
well, we
learned
yeah, that basically flying piranhas, if they get out, everybody in this wing is dead meat.
Also, can I just say, wasted opportunity to not do that.
Yeah. We're gonna get to another wasted opportunity here in a little bit. Something I was like, you could have done something really cool here. Morbius says speaking of the bats, these are the only mammals that evolved to live exclusively on blood. I'm also not sure that vampire bats do live exclusively on blood.
They don't. They also like grapes.
Yeah.
And,
cool.
Like,
cool. Yeah. Great.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just, this movie just is in another reality where bats are scared. Where bats are the sharks of the sky.
As we imagine, because why not? Listen, I feel like people get mad at us when we try to like rewrite movies and stuff, but fuck it, it's Morbius.
We're creative. I'm making it up. No.
Imagine if Kurt Connors was here. Rhys Ifans' Kurt Connors
would have been so much better. Like, just I actually was scouring because this movie likes to shoot. This movie likes to use B-roll of New York City.
Yeah.
Just to remind you, and I'm like, thank you. But like,
I didn't know this is in the Spider-Man universe. I didn't know it was in New York.
Yeah, but they should have. Like, I would have loved to have seen Oscorp Tower.
Yes.
And I was looking for it, and I'm like, nah. But yeah, man, Rhys Ifans is Doc Connors, especially if he doesn't become a lizard.
Yeah.
And it's just Rhys Ifans being an actor in this movie.
Well, because speaking of when Matt Smith is in House of the Dragon, Rhys Ifans is in it as well, and it's one of those. He's really excellent, and I think it's one of those things like because he's also in The King's Man. He plays Rasputin, and that movie is
shit
awful. That movie makes this movie look like a fucking masterpiece. But like Rhys Ifans is clearly having a blast as Rasputin, and he vanishes in the role, and it's like, oh, we're wasting Rhys Ifans. We're like, so it's like the idea of like, bring him back as Kurt Connors, and let him act. You could even, it would take some retooling, but I'm not against it. Basically have Kurt Connors be the Jared Harris role.
Yes.
Because especially the function he has at the end, which is to raise the stakes, Adria Arjona also does.
Yeah. Right? No. Oh my God. That also would have actually fixed a lot of things because it's like if Doc Connors is his mentor,
yes,
then maybe Morbius gets the idea to like test on himself, or at the very least like learns the wrong kind of scientific method from his mentor, because his mentor is like, no, science is more important than like self-preservation. It's more important than like the other people because you're smarter than them, so it makes you better than them. Like just making it be it thematically links in with more Spider-Man villains who are just like, I'm a scientist who's also an asshole. Like that's a lot of Spider-Man villains. It also would have fixed the third act because then he could have just fought the Lizard.
Oh, that would have been really fucking cool. And I think it's also, you touched on a couple cool things there. One is if this is the Amazing Universe, that was like their whole deal was animal experimentation, and it would also be really cool. I think the easy route is to have Kurt Connors be like, no, learn from my mistakes. I think what's more interesting if he's like, I didn't make a mistake, I fixed my thing. They stopped me from fixing the thing.
Exactly. No, I love that so much. It's such a better idea. And then you could play with it where it's like, so Rhys Evans' Doc Connors is now the mentor. You keep the Spider-Man angle where it's like, and Spider-Man's hunting Morbius, but we're watching it from Morbius' perspective. So at the end, you can get like a pretty fun fight that you have the sprites for. And I say that a lot, but like I'm using old school language, but it's like, we know what a CG Lizard and Spider-Man look like. We can just plug those in.
Yep.
To have a Spider-Man Morbius Lizard fight, and to have Spider-Man like get like seriously injured, or have him like be taken out of the fight and then have it be between him and Lizard, or bring in Matt Smith and have it be like it's a 4-way fight. Spider-Man has to like stop. He saves the Lizard.
Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Okay. So Kurt Connors is the mentor. I do think I know it's tired with the evil one, but again, Matt Smith is the best part in this movie, so I want to keep him around. So we set up the Matt Smith threat. Spider-Man's hunting him. Spider-Man. So you basically have early Morbius v Matt Smith fight. Then later you have a Morbius Spider-Man fight. Then you have Spider-Man Morbius Lizard fight, and that's how Spider-Man gets taken off the board. So it has to be Morbius that takes out Lucian. That takes both Lizard and Spider-Man off the board.
Exactly.
And then it has to be Morbius that saves the day. God damn it! And then you we've just pitched a more expensive movie, but also a movie that would have made money.
because they used scenes that aren't in the movie in the trailer, and they like made up scenes to put in the movie that ruin it for the trailer. Like it's a disaster.
And then post credits, fuck, I hate this, and I hate that I'm justifying it. Toombs sucked into this universe. Yeah. We've already said Connors Lizard out again. He's in a cell across from Connors. They talk. So then the second post credit scene is like, hey, I know I'm a guy you've never met. You want to team up? Now it's him and Connors is like, hey, Morbius.
right. I'm vouching for the Vulture guy. Yeah, let's go.
Why are you vouching for him? He just seems like a good dude. Don't question it.
He seems cool. He built that whole thing out of garbage and technology that doesn't exist in this reality.
Oh, we're jumping ahead. We'll get to it. Anyway, that's Sony. If you want to go back in time and remake this movie, call us up. Okay, so they're explaining the stupid bats and how it's supposed to make Morbius fix his thing. It doesn't make any sense. Morbius tests his cure on a mouse, which is classic. This is one of those things where it's like, well, yeah, that's what you do, without thinking about like, wait, does the mouse have Morbius's disease? Like,
I don't know. He looks a little sick, so I'm like, yeah, I guess he has his disease. Are you infecting these mice with that disease?
Are you giving them
Is it transferable?
Is it transferable? Is it communicable? Are you giving them little mouse blood transfusions 3 times a day? Like, whoa.
No, there's no explanation except to have it be a visual cue when the mouse gets back up.
Yeah, because so the mouse dies. Then
is it also a vampire mouse?
They never do anything with that. Fuck.
No.
It would just be a bat. It would grow bat wings. It would just be a bat.
That'd be so great.
So the girl we mentioned earlier, she starts freaking out. Like she starts dying. They put her into a coma, and while that's happening, which the geography of this is very confusing to me because I thought his lab was like down the hall, but apparently
it is 100% down the hall, but now it's across the room.
Because she's able
6 feet away.
Bancroft is able to see this girl's room. She's able to see the mouse come back to life, and she's like, Michael. And so this is where we find out Morbius visits Milo. We find out that Milo's the one bankrolling. We find out that Michael is working for Horizon, which is a comic book reference, and it would be cool if this movie didn't suck.
Or if it meant anything. Like, okay, so Horizon, yay. Like, you mean the company that, like, what?
Yeah.
And the reason is because, like, Morbius technically did work for Horizon Labs in the big time period of Spider-Man. So like
It would also be cool
them.
because during Big Time, they introduced a whole supporting cast of Horizon characters.
Oh, I know, and none of them are in this. It would have been really fun to have like any of those cool characters show up.
And it's a bummer too that they don't think about. That's the problem. Is the people greenlighting this shit aren't paying attention to the field, because you and I could look at it and be like, oh, Horizon, let's have that be our Star Labs, like on Flash. If I said that sentence to the people producing this, they'd be like, what are you talking about? What's a Star Labs?
Right. Either that, or they would have been like upset that it has like a parallel, like how they're not going to use the name Atlantis in the new Black Panther movie because Aquaman has an Atlantis. And I'm like, first of all, Namor beats Aquaman in creation by like a decade.
Yeah.
His Atlantis is first. Secondly, are you concerned that people are going to be confused by the Atlantis?
Atlantis?
Or are you like mad that like they have an Atlantis that works and you don't want to be compared unfavorably to it? Like either way, like, there's a moon in both universes, right? Like,
yeah.
Like,
you both have a New York City. Also,
right.
Disney has a movie all about Atlantis. Just say it's set in that universe. I don't give a shit. I don't care.
Who cares? But like, say Atlantis. But it's like, these studios are also thinking about like, what are they doing? I don't want to do what they're doing if it makes me look derivative. And I'm like, motherfucker, you're making Morbius.
Yeah, just don't fucking worry. Just do something that works. Damn it.
Yeah.
So he goes on a walk with Milo, which it seems ill-advised. They are not healthy men. We see them in crowded New York streets. Like, this can't be good. I don't know what your respiratory system's like, but I'm not feeling this.
Yeah, the walking and talking. I at least they were shooting it. At this point, I was like, oh, look at them on a set with people around.
That's the thing. It's like we joke, but it's like that does kind of make it look better than most MCU movies. Like, it's you actually made a movie.
I'm like, oh, okay, because there's no genuine New York City street scenes in any of No Way Home. Yeah.
So anyway, they're talking about love and how it's occurred. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's dumb.
Neither of them know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So neither one of these guys have gotten laid. I'm not trying to shame them in any way. They are not one hard hit, and they're gonna become dust. Like they're not in good shape.
No, I also it makes me question like Matt Smith, like Matt's, in The Score.
Yeah,
just not a great movie, but like Edward Norton plays a con man who's portraying a man with a mental disorder.
Yeah,
and he plays the guy with the mental disorder better than he plays the con man.
Yeah,
because Edward Norton is a great actor.
Yes.
Matt Smith is sex personified in this movie after he gets and that dude has gotten laid less than Morbius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, his game, like you wouldn't believe at that bar. And I'm like, I want to sleep with this dude.
Yeah. It's like, well, I'll go home with you. What are we doing?
Right? Are you kidding me? And it's no.
I'm glad you brought that up.
But it's like, I would have loved it if like Matt Smith played it like, I am a perpetual virgin who now thinks he's sex.
Yeah.
And like walks up to the dancing scene is the cringe moment for him. But even then, he's not bad at it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and it's or you change it to where because he's rich, it's like he's been able to hire people that do the work to make that happen because it looks like it would require some safety harnesses. I don't know. So Morbius says he wants to run. He wants to run this test in international waters, which we'll get to. We'll get to it.
I will admit. That's from the origin. Like in the comic book origin, Morbius has a rare blood disorder that he needs to conduct in international waters on a boat with a crew who can be eaten by vampires. Like that all is part of it. And he brings the woman he loves.
Okay. I mean, I just feel like
I know.
I'm sorry. I feel like if you're wealthy enough, you could just do this. Like I feel like nobody's gonna. It's cute that this movie thinks we're going to enforce our laws on rich people. Like,
well, what's great is the movie even says that they're not going to. Like, after it's all done, they're like, oh, we don't care about those guys.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
We care about what are you talking about?
We care about this nurse. Sure, you do. Anyway.
Sure.
So Morbius gives. So we're cut to they're on international waters, and I love that they have like a little super in and out little title card that tells us international waters. Thanks, movie. I appreciate it. So he gives Bancroft this like paperback. He's big into origami in the first part of this movie.
Yeah, it never comes back.
Nope.
I mean, it comes back later, but only like to bite him in the ass. But even then, it's not. Yeah, there's nothing there.
That doesn't really mean anything. We do a classic. We're pulling directly from Spider-Man 1. Morbius takes his shirt off, skin and bones. I will say, listen, I've spent a bulk of my life a little bit heavier, a little bit chunkier, and I now work out like 5 times a week, and I still, let's say my core is a little soft. Let's put it that way. I got a little bit of a spare tire that I can't seem to get rid of, and I do kind of resent that these skinny boys get to do one science experiment. Meanwhile, Thor has to do a whole routine. Although I do feel like that's true to life. Like skinny guys drink one protein shake and suddenly it's like, look, I'm jacked. And it's like, fuck you, man. Fuck you.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Anyway, whatever. That's my personal stuff that I just shared with the rest of you. They're doing the test. Why are there mercenaries on this boat, Sal? Explain to me why
so
they're
they can die. So they can die and you don't feel bad about them. I remember like there was a sequence in which he comes downstairs and he's like giving her a hard time, and I'm just like, we're setting this up so that we can not feel bad that you and your people die
when he gets eaten. But logistically, imagine. And I don't want to feed into patriarchal stuff, but like we're raised on that. So imagine you're a dude, and you're a fragile dude at that, and you're bringing the love of your life, who is gorgeous, and you're like, I'm already incapable of defending myself at best, and I'm gonna hire guys, a handful of guys that are twice my size, are heavily armed, and I'm gonna be incapacitated for who knows what amount of time. This is fine. What could go wrong?
I mean, I gotta hand it to him. I'm glad he's so secure. And they're not even really together. It's not exclusive. So like,
I'm not worried about, I'm worried about them doing it because that's where the scene,
just taking advantage of her.
Yeah, I'm worried. That's where the scene kind of like walks up to, is like, this guy could seriously fucking does apparently. She needs to be, after this, she needs to be intubated. Like,
oh no. Yeah. Like it's rough. It's needlessly rough. I don't know. It's, I'm still hung up on the whole, like, what are they there to prevent from happening? Like, are they international? Like, are they going to fight the National Guard? Or like the Coast Guard?
Are we worried about pirates? They're only, what do they say? Like 3 miles?
They're off Long Island.
Yeah. Like, are they worried about like a Captain Phillips situation?
I wouldn't.
Yeah. Anyway, they're there. These heavily armed, clearly asshole, real rape vibe assholes are on here. Like you said, we get a whole thing where he keeps wanting to call her a nurse and she's a doctor. I'm going to be honest with you, as a fan of 90s action movies, I actually don't hate this sequence. No,
it's actually not bad.
So they go in there. Michael's on the roof. He takes out this guy. He takes everybody out. And it's, if you've seen any, I want to say, is it Street Fighter? I want to say Street Fighter has a whole action sequence in like a, in similar listen, it's a lot of B movie action, 90s B movies. There's action sequences in warehouses or shipyards or whatever, where dudes are taken out.
That's Batman Begins. Like
that's this movie. The score so much wants to be a Hans Zimmer Dark Knight score, right?
And it's like you it's Morbius.
Yeah,
like, I know. Is a Morbius?
I know bats, but also like do something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Listen, everybody's just collecting a paycheck on this
for
one.
them, like, and that's the thing. Like, it works. Like for them, the movie doesn't have an identity. It's not like it is a Sam Raimi movie with a like Hans Zimmer score. Yeah, where it just wouldn't work. This is, it's self-important. It's simple and it's set up. There's a shot composition. Like there is a director of photography. They're not like breaking the mold. They're not changing the game, but they're also not sleeping at the wheel.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look like Sandman, where it's just shot like, oh, I set the camera down and then the things happen. there's lighting in this movie,
Yeah.
unlike on any Netflix movie.
Yeah. It's like, what again? And part of that is because it's not all on green screen. Like you go in the room and have your gaffer light the room the way you want, and it's a
scouter who goes around and looks for places to shoot.
Yeah, it's a bummer on multiple levels. It's a bummer that this is what we can praise about this movie of just doing the basic work. It's also a bummer that it does make it stand out from other superhero and Netflix stuff.
That's the thing. Like it is like it is simple. Like, but it works. And
this movie looks better. This movie looks better than The Old Guard. That's a bummer.
That's a bummer. That's a major bummer. No, it's true.
Anyway, so he kills all these guys, and of course he for some reason feels compelled. I would too if I looked like him. He compelled to take off his shirt, and he looks like Jared Leto. Jared Leto is a handsome guy.
Yeah,
I don't particularly like him from what I hear. I shouldn't like him, but
I hear he's a super creep, and I don't want to know him. But yeah, good for him.
Good for him.
Works out.
Matt Smith should have been Morbius in this movie. I'm going to throw that out there. Anyway, so. Did you see the clip? There's a clip of Matt Smith. I guess he's doing promo for House of the Dragon, and he's talking to one of these popular movie coverage guys, and the guy's like, "Well, I was on a plane, and Keanu Reeves was in front of me, and I saw that he was watching Morbius." That exchange is,
I did see that where he's like, "What? He saw Morbius?"
It's so good. Anyway,
did you like it?
He's like, I didn't ask. And then he watched Clockwork Orange after that. I think is the way where the story goes. Anyway. Michael watches tape of him killing all these dudes and immediately throws up. And I don't know if you had the same reaction I had. So I was like, don't do that. You're going to waste all the
100%. My wife and I were like, you just got rid of all that blood. You're going to kill like what? And the thing that really bugged me about all of that was like, I'm like, he ate like 6 people.
Yes.
I'm like, how quickly is he going to need to feed again? That is going to be the baseline.
We never find out. We never find out how much okay. So people donate blood, and it goes to waste, right? So if you have one of those bags, are you good for an hour, a week?
Right.
Because you don't need to hunt people if one blood bag gets you good to go for like a week.
Yeah, you can procure a blood bag a week.
Yeah,
especially as a doctor
who
specializes in making blood.
Yeah, in the fake blood, and of course we add the like, it's. We'll get into
inconsistent.
it. Yeah.
His transformation process, like what the blue blood does, what the red blood does, what justifies his transformation into comic book accurate Morbius versus like superhero Jared Leto Morbius.
Yeah, and because they try to Venom rules when he gets angry, it pops out. Which whatever.
Sure.
Fuck. Anyway,
I will say. They do at least cover his face with that CG shit like a lot more than I would have expected. You know what I mean?
It doesn't look awful. Like it doesn't look.
It doesn't.
It looks pretty decent. Here's my question.
Budget.
Here's my question for you, Sal.
Yeah.
Is this movie any better or worse than Venom?
It's the same. I got into it with somebody on Twitter actually where I made fun of this movie because I was like, it's embarrassing. This movie is an embarrassment because it is. Like, it's just congratulations. You're a first-year film student. You've been in a movie about 2 white college kids who like can't get a date. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or and then one of them kills themselves. Like you've made the thing.
Yeah.
Good for you. Mm-hmm. And that's what this is. It's like, bravo, you made the bare minimum.
You made that movie where it's like, oh, making movies is hard, but it's a community, and it's like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. You made a movie that's actually a documentary about how hard it is to make a movie.
Yeah.
But like this is that, and I'm like, this movie is just, and they're like, how do you rank it next to Venom? And I'm like, Venom. No, they said it's like as good as Venom. And I was like, Venom works because Venom is in it. They're the exact same movie.
Yeah.
But the reason you like Venom more is because Venom is in it.
Yeah.
Like, Venom and Morbius have the same script skeleton, have the same shot composition, the same like DP, like everything about those movies are identical in terms of structure, depth of story and character, and execution. The difference is one of them has fucking Venom in it. Mm-hmm. Which I want to see, and one of them is Morbius, a character I thought I would never see.
I would, the other, because I agree with you 100%, and it was kind of like I keep getting in this position where it feels like I'm defending Morbius when I'm not trying to, but it's like I don't know why we like. This is Venom. This is just as good as any Venom movie, and that's not a compliment. No. But the one thing I will say to your point, I agree with you that it is Venom, and I'm more excited to see Venom than Morbius. Although I do think that kind of works in this movie in its favor because I don't care about Morbius. So like, do whatever. Who gives a shit? Like, I don't care.
That's the thing, right? Like, but that's why, where it's like, well, then go give it to like Peter Jackson or Sam Raimi. Like, make it silly and weird. Make it specific.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's because when this came out, it was the time Moon Knight was out, and the difference between this and Moon Knight is Moon Knight actively offended me because I like Moon Knight. I like and so anyway. But also, the one thing I will give Venom is Tom Hardy is doing something interesting. I don't know that it is good, but it is interesting.
It's not even Venom. But it is.
It's interesting. It's watchable. It makes it. It's more than what. And I actually don't think Jared Leto's bad here. I actually think this is one of his.
He's perfectly suited for this kind of role.
Yes, which
he is
100%.
He is white guy.
Yeah.
Like he plays that character. Matt Smith is the Tom Hardy of this movie.
Yes, he is. That's
but
a good
even
point.
then, like
that's a good point.
You know, except Matt Smith isn't given enough. Like he's like, oh, I'm evil Morbius. Okay,
got it.
He just plays it.
Yep.
And he does it. And but there's like, there's father stuff, kind of like there's authority figure.
We're gonna get there. There's a whole scene between Matt Smith and Jared Harris that on this page is nonsense. Garbage. But because it's them, it's
great.
I somehow feel like I'm invested in this, even though when I listen to what they're saying, I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. No, it's words that bounce off you.
Yeah.
Like they don't penetrate. They don't elicit anything. But you're seeing them perform, and you're like, oh. Yeah, no.
Wait, am I feeling things? No, I'm not.
Right,
but it feels like maybe I am.
The lines are things like, you make me feel sad. It's like, oh, come on.
Oh my God. Anyway, all right. We just got him having powers. You know what? There we go. Listen. He's got the powers. We'll end part 1 of our Morbius discussion. God damn it. He finally got the powers. He threw up the blood. He calls a mayday. They're 13 miles off the coast of Long Island.
Oh, that's pretty far.
And now we're going to get one of our other leads, fucking Tyrese Gibson as Simon Stroud, who is in the comics. And boy, everybody buckle up because the rest of the movie's about ready to happen. Before we go, Sal, where can the kids find you?
Oh, kids, come on down to youtube.com/comicpop or Comic Pop Returns and check us out. You'll have a lot of fun.
Yes. Check all that out. Please come find me. Oh, you're here. Listen, you're over here. You're at the Patreon. If for some reason this is the first part, sometimes we release the first parts out to the regular podcast listeners so they know what we're doing over on the Patreon. If we've done that here and you're listening to this for free on your favorite podcast platforms, please go over. If you want to listen to part 2, you can do that over at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. Also, if you're just listening to the podcast version, you can actually watch these live early at a higher Patreon tier. So feel free to check that as well. And sometimes we have little discussions that ended up getting edited out of the episodes. So please do all that. And we'll see you all next time.